What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this John's Red string trimmer, and the problem is that it doesn't like to idle, and it's very difficult to start when it's hot. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. Now in this video, we try and repair this trimmer. However, it may not be the exact repair that you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. I don't get to work on John's Red equipment very often. In fact, this might be the second time ever. The interesting thing is that this trimmer looks very similar to a Husqvarna 129L, so it's probably made in the same factory. Now, this particular trimmer does start pretty easily. However, after that, the problems begin. It doesn't idle very well, and after using it for a while, if it happens to stop, it's a real pain to get started again. Now, I am following the directions on the side of the air filter cover, so I'm not doing it wrong. So more than likely, there's a problem with the carburetor, the exhaust system, or possibly a spark issue. Now, just in case I get this engine running, I want to make sure that the trimmer line is at the right length it's supposed to be. Otherwise, it might affect any tuning I might do later on. Now this machine isn't very old at all, so it shouldn't be worn out, but to check its health, you can slowly pull on the rope and feel the engine fight back. Now this one is fighting back very well, so I'm not worried about checking the compression. The next thing I want to do is remove the spark plug and check its condition. I'm looking for carbon buildup and its color. It should be a dark brown, and it should not look like a charcoal briquette. Now, it's pretty interesting that there's a Husqvarna logo on the spark plug. That pretty much gives it away that this is a Husqvarna product. Now, the color on the tip of the plug is dark brown, but more telling is that it's still wet. That's a clue that tells me that the carburetor is allowing too much fuel to enter the engine and causing our running problems. Now, before I move on, I also want to check the air filter just to make sure it's not wet with fuel or clogged with dirt or oil. And it looks like it's in perfect shape, so it's not part of our problem, so I'll move on. So the next thing I want to check is the exhaust system, but more specifically the spark arrestor screen. Now, since I know this engine is running a bit rich with fuel, there's a good chance that extra fuel will collect on the screen as carbon, so it might be clogged. Now, to get to the screen, I need to remove the rear cover, which happens to be part of the recoil assembly as well. I then realized that I didn't need to remove the rear cover, as there's an opening on the cover to remove the screw that holds the spark arrestor screen to the muffler. And it looks like this isn't the problem because, as you can see, the screen is not clogged, so it's not affecting how the engine is breathing. I'll put everything back in place and move on with the diagnostic. The next thing I want to do is start the engine and show you the problem to see if yours is doing the same thing. So another reason why your trimmer might be hard to start when it's hot is a failing ignition coil. It may work fine when it's cold, but when it gets hot, it doesn't work like it's supposed to, and the engine is just hard to start. Well, it started, but after turning the choke off, the engine didn't want to stay running. I'll try that again. This time, I'm going to leave the choke partially on. Now, before I start making any changes to the carburetor, I want to make sure that the fuel in the tank is in good condition. Otherwise, I'll be adjusting the carburetor for the old gas that might be in it. Well, it's a good thing I checked because this fuel looks pretty bad. Now, it's not fair to judge it by its color because it might be from its two-cycle oil that it's mixed with. However, I can say that this fuel doesn't smell like it came from the gas station recently. I'll put some fresh fuel in it, and then I'll start it up again and see if it runs any better. After replacing the old fuel with some fresh fuel, it was running a whole lot better, but when it got warm, it still didn't want to idle, so we'll have to make some changes to take care of that. Now that it's warm, I want to see just how difficult it is to restart. As you just saw, it took several pulls to get it to start up again, but the idle seems to be better, but who knows for how long. Now just remember, I am following the instructions for a hot start, and I don't want to modify them just yet. The first change I want to make is to increase the idle speed. To make it easier to see, I'm going to remove the air filter cover. I'll start by turning the idle screw clockwise about 3 turns to start off with, and I'll turn it back later on. Well, that didn't make any difference, so this time I'm going to make adjustments to the carburetor. I'm going to use this special tool that you can buy online, and according to this cover, the H screw is closer to the air filter and the L screw is closer to the engine. Now, since we have an idling issue, we'll only need to make changes to the L screw, and we'll deal with the H screw later on. So what I did is I turned the L screw clockwise, not even a quarter turn. This reduces the amount of fuel that the carburetor was delivering to the engine, and the engine speed immediately increased afterwards. Now let's see if this slight change will let us restart the engine better when it's hot. Well, it definitely started up much easier, but let's try that one more time just to make sure. So what ended up happening was I restarted the engine and then squeezed the trigger for full speed. I then turned the H screw clockwise and the engine speed did increase. I then turned it the same amount counterclockwise and the engine speed decreased. And in the end, I turned it right back to where it was because I don't want the engine to be revving at its highest speed. I want the engine to run a bit rich in fuel so the engine won't burn up. After that, I ended up turning the idle speed down so the trimmer head wasn't spinning while it was at idle. So my question is, would you buy this John's Red trimmer for the same price as a Husqvarna? Now, if it was me, as long as the price for parts was the same for both, I don't see a real reason to buy this one. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in my next video.